Guys, just another quick report. So, at the end of February this year, Britain sent a warship to go and travel through the South China Sea to assert the international rights to the sea, the South China Sea, basically. At the same time, in March, the USA also sent a nuclear-powered USA aircraft carrier through the waters, again asserting that the waters are international and China claims it as their territory. So in response, China put on a massive naval display, and this display involved 10,000 naval officers, 76 fighter jets, and a flotilla of 48 ships and submarines. They all took part in the drill, and this comes before their live fire military drills, which are planned for April the 18th. Obviously, April the 18th is one of the watch days, a very big watch day with a lot of things going on. Japanese Prime Minister meeting Donald Trump in Florida. South Korea and North Korea having preliminary meetings ahead of their later meeting on the 27th of April. The Fall Eagle exercise, the Key Resolve exercise between the USA and South Korea taking place around that time. Many other things like just many other things. I can't remember it all right now, but obviously I've got a video on my channel laying that all out for you. But it seems as if the South China Sea is going to be another hotspot of contention coming up relatively soon. And I think that connects into a propaganda video, I think. It's an animated video that was released by the Chinese around Euro 2012. And I've speeded it up so I can play it for you. And it's basically, it looks like a depiction of destruction of London. You'll see Big Ben, you'll see an Olympic Stadium, which I think is the Olympic Stadium in Stratford that was used for the 2012 Olympic opening and closing ceremonies and the games between those two events. So again, and obviously on April 18th is the same day they put up that Arch of Bale in central London 2 years ago. So it's a pretty significant day, I think. You can see Big Ben in the background there, and obviously they're in a football stadium, wars going on, smoke and everything. It just seems a very odd video for a football advert showing the destruction of London. But obviously if situations escalate in the South China Sea, then it could be that as a result China, gets involved and, as is depicted in this video, strikes London, while Russia maybe takes on the US, North Korea and South Korea, left to go at each other, Israel, Iran at each other, all the major players kind of having squared up against their potential targets and opposition. And this could be, they like to use animation to depict these kind of events because obviously they can control the animation much more than they control movies and music, although they do put subliminal messages in those things. When it comes to animation, they can draw things and then manipulate it to look like something else. And it's just, not many adults watch animated things. But a lot of things have become animated these days, so you have to watch the animations that they use. So that's just kind of focused on China there, and obviously then I just want to move on to report about 200 American military troops being killed in Syria. Now this is the kind of the situation that has unfolded. In February, apparently American troops or American military struck some bases and killed 200 Russians in an airstrike, and that was reported at the end of February. And then following that, 200 American troops were killed in Syria, with approximately 1,800 American private military contractors a supposed revenge for the Russians that had been killed by the Americans at the end of February. And then we had this supposed chemical attack, which obviously led to the airstrikes that we saw today or yesterday on Friday the 13th. And now we're getting reports that Russia is accusing Britain of staging the suspected Syria chemical weapons attack. And I am British. I don't put it past the British government to conduct something like this, to be quite honest with you. The Russians say they have irrefutable evidence that the special services of a state, Britain, which is in the forefront of the Russia-phobic campaign, had a hand in the staging. Now, basically, what they're alleging is that Britain have paid a certain group within Syria called the White Helmets to stage this chemical attack as a pretext for launching strikes against Syria. Now, obviously, there's been the whole tension between London and Moscow in relation to the Novichok chemical poisoning in Salisbury against Sergei and Yulia Skripal, who are now recovered miraculously. And from that allegation, they were saying that only Russia could have manufactured that particular chemical, that particular poison, which I assert is not true. I think there's probably hundreds of labs around the world that could have manufactured that particular poison. In particular, Category 5 CDC labs would have had the capability of doing it. And there is one, I think, in Wales that, could have been used. That's just a theory, but, it's not, as the UK government asserted, only Russians could have done it. It could have easily been, re-engineered or reverse engineered, should I say, and reconstructed in another lab in another country, including Britain. So that's just another indication as to why London may be a potential target. And I say maybe with very little, incredulity, because I just think obviously London will be a target. Even though it's a small country, the UK, its influence is everywhere, so, and it's also got close ties to the USA. So if anything was to happen with the USA as we're thinking, then London would most certainly be involved in that. And this all just kind of ties into the scenario of London being one of those places, especially with Russia having issues with the chemical attack that they were accused of, and now accusing Britain of staging this chemical attack by paying these White Helmets. And obviously they say they have proof, which they're going to release to the public, and we'll see what that proof is in the days to come, I'm guessing. As suspected, because of all this war talk going on around the world, oil prices have surged 2%. That doesn't seem like much, but it is hitting a 3-year high. And this is after Donald Trump says to Russia that missiles will be coming. And obviously we've looked at the potential of oil rising, and if the price of oil rises too much in dollars, then countries now have the option of going over to China and trading in the yuan, and therefore decreasing the power of the dollar, adding to the potential for an economic crisis through the downfall of the dollar. We've seen a lot of turmoil in the stock market in relation to various different events that have taken place over the last couple of weeks and months, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better. And I just feel like it's another indication as to what is potentially coming. So keep an eye on that as well. Lots of things to really keep your eyes on. Time, this Great Return March continues. It's in its 3rd week. That means it still has 3 weeks to go, halfway through. Number 3 obviously being a significant number in numerology. It's saying here that Israeli forces have wounded 30 more Palestinians in Gaza-Israel border protests. And you'll notice that they are very quick to publish reports where Israel looks negative. And I don't know why that particularly is, but at the same time, we can only guess as to what's going on there, but the total number of Palestinians killed now, I think, is over 50, most likely more. You know, probably these deaths have been underreported. So that's another thing to keep your eyes on in terms of a potential conflict sparking off in a major way between Israel and Hezbollah and I can't remember the other name right now. But obviously that would involve Iran as well, because they back those forces. And I've already spoken about the potential for conflict between Iran, Israel, the USA, and Saudi Arabia coming out of this conflict from Syria. And then the last thing I just wanted to show you is this, what I think is kind of like a foretelling, whether natural or not. A gigantic rolling cloud tsunami sweeps across the ground in rare weather phenomenon caught on incredible footage. Excuse me. Just have a look. This is clouds, and it's basically clinging to the ground. They call it can't see the name here, but anyway, just if you just look at the way the white clouds at the front, just imagine that's the size of a tsunami. That's like the front of the wave, with the waves foaming and crashing, and it just kind of gave me an image of what could potentially be coming. Let's click on this here. And I just thought it was interesting because obviously the way it rolls in, it looks like the front of a massive tsunami wave. And that's exactly what we're talking about. This is an unusual phenomenon. Obviously, clouds don't typically move this way, clinging low to the ground, rolling forward like a, like a tsunami wave. And as I say, I think it just looks like a possible foretelling of future events. And when I was watching it for the first time, I was just imagining myself standing right there while all this is coming. And I thought, that's crazy. That's literally crazy. So whether that's a, weather weapon inspired phenomenon, or whether it's a natural sign from God, I don't know. I'm not going to make that call, but I just wanted to show you that particular footage. And you guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and God bless.